Hey guys, I'm Gary, and this is your exclusive movie review of The Unforgivable. So, The Unforgivable stars Sandra Bullock, John Bernthal, Viola Davies, and Vincent D'Onofrio. I haven't really been a fan of Sandra Bullock's until she started doing a little bit more dramatic roles. I mean, I know she's done quite a few dramatic roles in the 90s, but she took on this phase of doing comedies, and some of them are okay, some of them are, nah. I never really cared for her style of comedy, especially the miscongeniality ones. I saw the trailer for The Unforgivable. I watched Bird Box and I loved Bird Box. I thought it was an incredible creative film. And I thought Sandra Bullock did an awesome job of being like this kind of overbearing, kind of like cynical like person, especially towards the two little kids. It almost felt like she didn't want like to be close with them, right? And they showed that throughout the movie to a certain degree. And in this movie, it almost felt like she took an extra step to really dive into characters. I don't think she's really dived into a character that I know of more than this movie. Really dived into a person's psyche. I saw the trailer for this movie. There was a point in this movie just was enthralled with. The movie had the same tone as a movie like I believe Monster or North Country with Charlize Theron. They grounded the movie a little gritty, very realistic, and it had a certain rawness to it. Each character, whether it was Viola Davis or Vincent D'Onofrio or even John Bernthal, all those supporting characters, man, they were so good in these roles, no matter how limited they were. I think Viola Davis had like the most limiting role. There was a couple of scenes, especially one where she's confronting Sandra Bullock's character, and just like the empathy her character has towards Sandra Bullock's character Ruth really made you think like, you want to be on that person's side, or you're glad that that person has to a certain degree changed their mind about who this person was. D'Onofrio's character plays Viola Davis's husband, who is a lawyer. And even though he doesn't really take cases like Ruth's, he's willing to help her mediate a meeting with Ruth and the adoptive parents of her baby sister. And of course, that goes terribly wrong. And there's a scene in the movie where she's talking to the lawyers. She's having a confrontation with her baby sister's foster parents. And there's that moment where she's like, "Don't treat me like I don't exist." And that was just like seeing that in the trailer and then seeing that in the movie, just like it's gut wrenching, like her performance in that scene especially was just like, oh, this is such a good movie. But you empathize with Vincent's character because he's going through a stage where like he really sympathized with Sandra Bullock, and as soon as she didn't tell him the whole story, he's just like, I can't do this or whatever. There was a few moments in this movie you have a conflict between Viola's character and Vincent's character, and it's a clear indication of just not having proper communication. Viola's character accuses her husband Vincent of taking a case even though he wasn't going to take the case, but he didn't even suggest that to her throughout his process of whether or not he was going to take it or not. True signs of a working marriage right there. John Bernthal's character I thought was interesting. I think they should have done a little bit more with him. He befriends Sandra Bullock's character and they get close. There are moments where she takes a step back or she's afraid of him, and he had a pretty interesting connection with Sandra's anyways. There's a scene where she opens up to him, to John Bernthal's character. He's got his own issues, so he goes off and tells somebody, and then that person tells somebody, and then that person tells another person, and then it blows up in Ruth's face. Bernthal's character also has a history that he couldn't really cope with. So when he found out Ruth was in prison for 20 years, he just needed to talk to somebody. I don't understand why he couldn't just talk to her, Ruth herself. I found The Unforgivable pretty emotionally impactful. Like I was saying, the performances were awesome. Sandra Bullock, I think that gives this Oscar-worthy performance, at least get nominated for this. It's one of those films, stripped down all the glory of being an actress, all the action, all the spectacular spectacle stuff, right? This is raw and dirty film. Not dirty in the sense of like, dirty sexually, but she's starting to look her age in this movie. She's well into her 50s, and she very well looks like she could be in her 50s in this film. She's like long, raggedy hair, not much makeup, if any makeup at all. It was very realistic, and that's what I appreciate with movies like Bruised, Monsters Ball, North Country, Monster, movies like that where they just dive deep and who cares, don't put makeup on these characters and just make them look like normal, ordinary people, and that's extremely relatable. Greater performances than the story. The story is pretty simple. I can think of another movie that was in such a way similar with the twist ending, even though it's like this movie gives you a little bit more emotion to that twist. Mainly the performances and the twist are what make this movie. There's two characters in this movie where they want to get back at Ruth's character for killing their dad. You understand there's one character that's clear, simple, knows what he wants to do. He wants to hurt Ruth. And the brother is conflicted, just wants to, move on from it. But the older brother convinces him, or the younger, I think it was the older brother, convinces the younger brother that, she can't get away with this. And then there's a situation between those two brothers that drive the younger brother to be like, fuck this shit, I'm gonna hurt this woman, right? So there's a scenario at the end of the movie, a good and bad scenario, where a little girl gets kidnapped and Ruth's character has to go in and save the day. The very last shot of this movie, when that scene ends, there's a great moment. Ruth gets what she wants to a certain degree, but it's really open-ended. You don't really know if Ruth's sister is actually young baby sister is actually going to see Ruth for who she really is. And even though that's kind of sad, the ending give you like a bittersweet moment as well. I'm going to recommend The Unforgivable. I thought it was a great film. Like any movie, it's got its issues. Sit down and watch it yourself. Thanks for watching, and please share. If you agree or disagree, put a comment down below me.